we're going to continue with the idea of the misinterpretation of creating reality. Making a point isn't creating a reality. See, in creation, the first scope of reality that was understood was objective in the separated world. Things, trees, sky, sun, animals, food, water, cold, hot, your environment, if you will. So in these ideas, this is what you want to create in the idea of ascension, in the world of spirituality, trying to become manifestors. Well, the whole of you, as you know, is manifesting all that is in the now. All that is a vibrational match. The details come in time to what you would call match your frequency in the idea of details. You're on the planet Earth, your frequency doesn't validate, or you don't trust, or you don't know yet, as the idea of evolving, what it is to be on the same frequency as, let's say, the surface of Mars. You can most certainly go there, you can most certainly breathe there, you can most certainly have an experience on Mars without being the Martian human or the equipment or all these things that you think you need. See, these are all based in the idea of vibration. A rate of speed, if you will, how fast or slow something understands itself, cycle itself in ohms against a resistor point of creation, gives a reflection back, and of course then you get what you call physicality. In that physicality, you slow it down, speed it up, finite it, do all kinds of fun stuff, but you can't do that. Get over it. What you can do is learn how your truth is, how you relate, what is authentic. The whole class, the whole teaching, the whole idea is to become you. And to become the authentic you without hesitation or without debate. And whenever you notice your mind trying to make a fucking point about life, you know you are in the idea of lack. You are looking at time to make something happen. Create is what we call it. You are creating a point, creating a house, creating a life, creating a love, creating money, creating goodness, creating healthy, creating well-being. What you're doing is maintaining separation. Because the idea of the natural God in and of itself is 100% vibration, and it doesn't have any cognitive thought as you hoped that it would create the idea of a singular thing. In other words, let's go ahead and bust some bubbles tonight, okay? You can have these truths. We don't give a shit. But you can have the truths about these or not. We would love you to finally, my God, choose your own truth. So let's say let's say a whole God. Well, what is a whole God? I have to start there. A God knowing is a God, right? Does a God know himself a God as a Pleiadian, or does he know himself as a Pleiadian? Does a God know himself as a Draconian, or is he a whole God? Do they share the same connection? Yes. Are they the same per point of view? Abso-fucking-lutely not. So they're not just going, phew. You got to get that out of your head, humanity. Stop trying to be the magicians. You know who does that? Wizards. Come and incarnate as a wizard, and then you'll understand how to manifest things out of midair. But it's usually not physicality. It's usually, the idea of a movement of things. Changing the frequency of an object into a movement, or even changing the frequency at the core, and let's say turning an aardvark into a frog. Okay. So we want you to understand, creating a reality is creating how you feel about it. That dictates 100% the experience you're having. The experience you're having over time changes if you are being the natural, getting back to the self that you are. That doesn't mean that self has to remain human. But you guys are in such desperation to keep your human life safe and secure and on track with whatever modality is inside going, you're not enough. And then you're going, you're right, I'm not enough. I need to fix them or make them love me better. Or I need to do that and make myself look better. Those things are human. They are exquisite. They are your right. But when you have a destination and you have met that destination in the now, then don't change the destination by going backwards, if you will, for, let's say, references of polarity. In other words, why keep choosing what you already know you have chosen? When you wake up, that means you want something different. The ones that are not awake, that are caught in what you call a cycle of limitation, truly not caught in a cycle, they're just choosing their fucking truth. But from the apparency of the whole, you can see them repeat themselves and keep themselves within the same frequency zone. Are you seeing that about yourself? Well, you need to understand your relationship with your reality. Your reality is everything, including the physical and the idea emotional, the etheric, the relationship to everything. Everything is conscious. From the smallest little molecule knows itself as a molecule. It doesn't sit around thinking, well, I can't wait to attract something else and become solid. It's not having that kind of an experience as a sentient being, but it is most assuredly knowing itself somehow, some way. Kind of like as Bashar said, when you flip over the rock knows itself because you flipped over the rock. It understands itself as a rock. Then, when it is experienced, whenever time it is, even if it's sitting still, being rained on, it still knows itself as a rock. So everything is conscious and having a relationship with you. But your definitive mind, your tiny little mind of focus, of fear, of scared, of predictability, of betterment, of always the lack self, is focused in time and in keeping that sustaining modality going. What you want to do is not be that, otherwise you're not here. If you're here, that's why you're here, because you want change. So we're giving it to you. So what you do is you choose the change in the relationship, how you feel about the now. If you are not happy, why do you keep being not happy? Oh, I know, because you have value in the idea of something else. Something else that your mind tells you, sells you a story, tells you a story on what's best for the situation. And since you are so used to that situation over and over again for a million fucking billion gazillion years, it's the habit of humanity, so you just smooth right in and said, we have to fix this. And no one questions it until you run across a dragon or a light worker. Then that idea offers a different vibrational feeling between you and your authentic. See, what everyone is seeking, searching for, is trying to fulfill themselves with the emptiness. And that fulfillment, once again, is done with quantity of things. Look how many things I've accomplished, blah, blah, blah. If you are having those things and your relationship is nothing but the excitement of your own experience with it, then it is not polarized. And of course, that idea is your own meekness with that relationship, whether it is a degree, a job, a wife, a love, a particular idea that would be considered a bad habit or something. If it is your truth, it's not polarized to you. And we don't give a flying fuck about humanity and their fucking judgments, because if you do, you're right back into the cycle of fixing something that's not broken. So what you need to understand in now times, through the classes and understanding your relationship with the frequency of the now and how you relate to it, creates the reality, not of the manifesto that you guys are desperately trying to get to. Not that. What you're trying to understand is creating a reality of authentic, choosing the beauty of you in the moment on how you feel, despite the mindful set that says wrong, 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 have to, should, can't, oughta, the things that keep you distracted running around. Like in the idea of Belle. Isabel's having problems with her husband. There's no problems with her husband. She just doesn't want to accept the fact that she doesn't want to be with him because he's not being the co-creator that she would love in her life. She's trying to change herself to meet his standards, and she's growing to hate herself. Then she tries to change him to meet her standards, and of course you have a fucking train wreck, right? So what she didn't want to accept, that it was over, because the consequences in the fearful mind says this idea is going to crumble my relationship with myself and I'm going to be a disaster, blah, blah, blah. So she chooses to negotiate with herself and try to fix that's not a problem. But the unknown God within her already has all probabilities of frequency match, authentic, waiting right there. The servant of creation, or the steward of creation, better said, is sitting there ready to let you see what it is already created for you, but you you won't go to it because you keep diminishing your idea of light and choosing the idea of the pain to fix, because that's your habit, that's your known, not your fault. Be the default, be okay with that. Perfect. So what you do now is be okay with what the fuck your truth is. And let's say, as Grisa said, your truth is whatever it is in the now. It doesn't matter. If you hesitate, that's your truth. If you debate, that's your truth. And that leads to a series of debates and hesitation, because what you put out is what you get back. Until you make a decision to act upon it, and usually by that time the decision is so fucking fucked up with all the details in your mind, you feel chaotic, you give up and just make a choice, and most of the time it's to give in to what you don't want, because you don't want to fuck it up, because you're not sure the right thing in your heart that says is right, because the mind is kicking your ass 3 ways from Wednesday. So what do? You stop. You fucking stop, and you stop asking questions about how and why and what abouts, and everything that the reality around you that you're having a relationship is problematic. You can ask whys in the class, you can ask hows and things like that. That's inquisition. It's a relationship to reality. You can't use polarity as a standard. Nothing is polarized until the individual singularity I am chooses to see it as polarized through a filter. Outside of humanity, there are no polarizations. This is unique to this world. There are no debates. There are no ups and downs, left and rights, ins or outs. There is what is in the now. And that's it. And all of us are unconditional about the now, so guess what we get? The full fucking Monty, because there's nothing bad to allow the full Monty in, to let you breathe that in at yourself, to let you be that moment in its fullness, to experience every vibrational color that you have been so used to squashing down into a few colors because you're afraid to be it. Because that's the polarized way. Non-polarization says, I'm naked, bring it on. I don't care. This is my truth. I'm going to be this truth, whatever it is. And then here's the mastery that kicks all of you in the ass. You know what it is? Your truth is no longer your truth. And then you regret yourself instead of accepting your truth as the evolution. You've had this class 300 times. You already know it 400 times over. You know what it is to be regretful towards yourself, that without that notion that you have chosen a truth to release, there is no evolution of the self in that moment. There's the sustainment, and there's no potential of frequency shift to allow other realities that the steward of creation is trying to shove down your fucking throat, but you keep telling them to fuck off. I'm going to go back to my misery idea. So this is what masters now understand. And it's not about becoming better any longer. It's not about figuring out how much money you can make to buy certain things or go on certain vacations and buy the front. Those are human. You want to be human? Guess what? I'm sorry, too fucking late. You can't go back to sleep. Impossible, because you know too much of your authentic. The authentic cannot go back on itself and be contorted, because you cannot feel that shitty about your reality truth any longer. You were covered of it, so blinded to how fucking shitty your life is, mediocrity. And when we say shitty, again, for the ones that haven't joined us, we don't mean bad, good shitty, we mean polarized shitty. The way you measure reality, whether it's on the good or the bad side, it's all a bunch of pile of shit that you don't need to play with it anymore. You did play with it. Woo-hoo, yee-haw. But you told yourself something, I want change. And you have it. And the change doesn't sing a follower leader. It doesn't sing that. This change says, I am the God to choose me no matter what. That's how you know yourself. There's nothing else to know. You can't make it complicated. You want more stuff to busy your time. You're empty. You feel a lulling inside of you that you have no purpose, and you're reaching out to be somebody. When all you have to do is be, and you'll know how fucking badass you are. You will know the gestalt, the accomplishments you have made that are no longer badges of honor, but the meek relationship to thyself, that you have given yourself an experience of fucking holy shit. I'm a badass. Look what I did for me. Stop trying to get a point across. Stop trying to make things better over here. Stop trying to make things better over there. Stop trying to fix people, and then when they don't meet your needs because you're such a fucking cunt to have expectations on a forgotten God, and the only way you can live is to be a pain in the fucking ass, then you know you are loving your lost self. What better way than to see it? To know you are the creator of that pain. Are you purposely sustaining someone's lack? No. Until you know. Until you know you're being a bitch just because you have nothing else to do. And that's a different frequency, isn't it? See, that's not the land of the lost. That's a knowing God afraid. It's not a bad thing. Of course not. There's no bad in this planet and creation. That's a God afraid. God's ready to know itself as a whole, to let go of its last idea. I don't need to be a bitch anymore. I don't need to be a dick or an asshole. I don't need to abuse my wife or my kids and stifle their dreams with my common sense and safety and security bullshit that I fucking cussed my fucking father out on when I was driving away at nighttime with my friends in the car. Forgot that self, didn't you? You know what you did? You grew up. You got fucking serious about life and you forgot your freedom. But it's returned. It's here. And you're afraid to choose it a lot of times. You resolve yourself to find that old self, to feel comfortable and purposeful again. You're so afraid of being naked and empty, exposed nerves all over the place, being touched and pinged by reality around you. You don't know how to feel. You don't know how to act. You don't know what to do. You're all confused because you're not using the crucial idea that got you through life to an early grave. Because you're afraid to live. Why do you think you guys only live 100 years now? Less than 100. Because you're afraid. Think the 900 years in the Bible was a mistake? Think that was a mistake, do you? You used to live 900, 800 years. Think that was a mistake? They didn't understand fear the way you did because they weren't imaged. They were followers. They were cults. They were covets to a divine self of expression that got to feel something beyond the measurement. Welcome, Don. They got to feel something beyond being criticized because they were part of a group. There were so many religious aspects not touching each other. Very, very few discovered. And that was life purpose, and it gave them fulfillment. Just you want to understand that, go watch the movie Apocalypto. You'll understand a unum society, the Mayans, the Aztecs. Mayans in the Apocalypto. And of course the Spaniards. But there was so much image in that time. You discovered image. And you guys started dwindling your lifespans down and down because you're afraid to discover who you are, because everything that you wanted to be that was imaged by the others was no longer your truth, and you couldn't face the fears that you were feeling inside that you had to offend everybody. But there was no offending when taught from birth, cultivated as a culture of beauty. Children were not taught wrong. Children were shown, here's what you are. Here's the life. This is what we are. They knew no other. You want an example of that? North fucking Korea. You guys look around at your world. Feel it. Don't translate it using the resources of limitation to see. You guys can live so long on this planet and experience lifetimes. You can take one lifetime and learn a language and live in that culture. But it's still your life. It's not a lifetime. It seems like 100 years, and you can do that. You can explore this world. It is not going anywhere because it doesn't exist in time. It exists in the now. Whose? Yours. An individual creator. You can have these things, but you feel the calling, the beckoning of the emptiness that needs to be soothed by the drug of purpose, to be fulfilled with an attributions of another's aberrations, to be the envy and talk of all town, to be great to others, to fill yourself with greatness through hard work, and go and brag and boast and look what I did and flash your smile. And maybe a jet or a bank account. Materialism, you know these things. You're masters at them. But do you know yourself? Are you afraid? Humanity is magnificent. The world is absolutely outstanding with the potential of choice of limitation. But our apologies, sorry that you woke up. And I'm not talking about the spiritual woke up. I'm talking about being in this present, this now, to know thyself. It's not about raising your frequency. It's not about lowering it. It's not about fears. It's not about manifestation. Those are lackful human aspects of accomplishments, achievements, pursuits of happiness. You, my friends, are here to know thyself, to explore the kingdom. And there's only one way to know it: experience. As I love to say, theory sucks the high hard one. Got that from Roxy. I fucking love it. Stop theorizing about your life. Stop debating your life. Stop wondering when tomorrow's going to get better. Stop pretending to make yourself a certain vibration. That's lack. Be whatever the hell you are in the moment, and don't be afraid of it, because no thing is going to happen. You see the brat-ass bitch, crazy bitch in front of you, Roxanne, that has lived the life. You've journeyed with her. You know her fears about money, about acceptance, about love, about being homeless, about having no car, about being judged by the others, about the loss of Hollywood and wanting the movie. You've seen her journey. She's been real. To know you can be too. That you can be alive, sweat and stink, and don't shave your armpits if you don't want to. That's for the ladies, most of you. To live unbounded. Not with the idea I'm just going to go wander for a while to find my spiritual self. That's intention. We're talking unbounded. The unbounded is only one place, now. It never has anything to do with time. Time automatically takes you to a moment of a self that is whole immediately into lack, to know the lack of the self. And then that self knows itself as whole and chooses to be the lack or to know thyself more. You guys are going to discover that you are a starting point of evolution. You're creating a new species of knowing, Homo divinicus. If you choose Homo sapien, then you will die. And that's okay. And even if you're Homo divinicus, you can still die anything, but this is a personal attribute. You know if you're sapien. Sapien is limited. Divinicus is choice. Choice of polarization, choice of freedom, non-polarization, choice beyond. Choice and experience, to know thyself in an exploration in a particular holodeck that says humanity, and no longer having to be human, but relating to it as a frequency, creating a new self, a new paradigm of you, a new fucking bubble, a new oversoul if you want to, and create that and collect more of yourselves into the oneness of you, and then channel and be channeled. And create societies of lack to ascend them all through you. But you want to know what tomorrow is going to bring. You have to know, okay, of what you're doing is correct. You're not throwing anything away. You've never missed an opportunity. You're waking up from a very deep dream. And it's a motherfucker. So Roxy will kick your ass until you love yourself. Until you know the meekness of what it is that you have accomplished for you. What you've done for yourself. Not only to live expressively. That's a new feeling. Like, oh, I did it for me. That's still polarized. Experience that. Know that you've accomplished. Know that you took a chance on yourself. And then after that, you will no longer feel that accomplishment. Because the accomplishment, the good, the best self you can create in polarity is lacking. And that too shall diminish. And up from the underneath of that self polarized births you. The new self that realizes its meek understanding, its power of creation within its grasps, within its knowing, upon its lips, within its ears, feeling the dynamics of bending light all about, the voices of a million in one now. It understands itself as a co-creator that has no division between you, the rock, the tree, the homeless, the murderer, the rapist, the preacher, the Turkish adversary. Roxy has an issue with Turkish people because they committed genocide on the Armenians. They committed genocide on the Greeks. Remember Troy? She has a problem with them. She understands that. See, that's the truth. She had very good friends, and they survived the Holocaust. It's not known. But then again, we can say about that to Puritans. You think you killed a lot of Jews, right? You know how many Native Americans? 10 times as many. 400 million Native Americans slaughtered because of the Christ conscience. Same with the Turks. See, that's authentic, isn't it? To find the hate inside you, to know it intimately, to have compassion for the victims of those atrocities committed on earth, validating within a frequency band of Roxy's truth, polarity. So she is a separatist, taking an entire country because she hates pain. Because she was brought pain. So her job, her protectorship, to save, to keep people from harm. She put that on herself very young. She finds it every day, something that keeps her from herself. So she finds it and she explores it and she accepts it. She's a hater of the Turkish tribe. Fuck them. They stink. They have hairy chests. They got fat bellies. And they take their wives and they suppress them. She knows the atrocities. You know why? Because she's a fucking channel. But that's her journey. She uses what she is to become a god that knows no bounds and is unconditional to the state of being of natural, instead of fucking around with what's wrong. And I kick her ass because she's being a selfish little brat. That creation is exploiting herself and she has to be a shit fit about it. So I say, fuck her. And she gets mad and then accepts it. It's pretty simple, really. Because she's exploring herself. She's not afraid to know her own atrocities within her that are bound into the human psyche that they are part of the human self that she's created out of imagery. To know thyself is separated, to know thyself as God, the master journey you've bestowed upon. To not be afraid to admit she's mad. Not to be afraid to admit she has fetishes. Not be afraid to admit she eats meat in front of a culture of vegans. Picks her teeth, spits the meat out. Arrogant. Because that's her truth in the moment. To be that separatist, to know she's not, she must explore the truth of her actions. She cannot fix it because they're not wrong. She must know them intimately. She must know the judgments on herself. She had no idea. She's negotiating with herself. She had no idea when it was time to leave Jenny's house. She knew time was coming. She felt it. Of course, Tommy Jean happened and the miracle happened. She was negotiating, oh, maybe mom and dad will take me back, maybe this, a miracle. But she let it go and just said, fuck it, I don't care. You know what she did? She accepted homeless. Mom and dad weren't real happy with Roxy then. She accepted homelessness. She gave in to the fears of time and said, bring it on. It'll be an adventure to be that. But of course, that's not her frequency match because homeless to the self is an idea of worth. And she's not worthless to herself. Homeless is the experience of a God forgotten. The fractal is having a worthless time, but the God whole is having a fucking outstanding time. This I promise you. But that's not your journey. You can't be homeless because you're not. Roxy realized that. She realized in the now she wasn't, so why would it change? To teach her a lesson, to give her some karma bullshit? She called Trump and bullshit on that years ago. She stopped listening to the mind, started listening to the heart, and said, relax, it's coming. And then Tommy Jean called. Simple. It's not a miracle. It's what she chose in the authentic self to give her a reality that matches her goddamn vibration of worthiness. Malatar taught you that. Your reality is a direct reflection of how worthy you are you unto yourself. And an unworthy God is deserving of unworthy things. Because what you put out is what you get back. And the only way to know your worthiness is to be the authentic choice in the moment. And that self is no matter what is the situation, there's not 1 ounce of doubt. The mind doubts, but you don't. There's not 1 ounce of hesitation. The mind hesitates, but you don't. There's no more negotiations with the worthiness. The mind offers a ton of resolves, but you say no. Because there is no problem. There is me. And we cannot make you journey here. We cannot undo your confusion. We cannot tell you to stop validating the truth. We can only show you the potential, and you, badasses, need to choose. If you don't choose, then you know you're choosing what you don't want. The authentic is known. It is a discernment. It is the idea of the speaking of the tongues, the ideas of acts, the gifts of God. Speaking of tongues was one of the gifts. The discernment of spirits was another. Misrepresented, of course, because the Bible's just diarrhea, a lot of it, right? But there's a lot of authentic in the Bible. Speaking a tongue is to know the language of the now. The interaction between not the physicals, not this, the vibration. That's the language you speak, not the tongues. Brrr. Here, authentic. The discernment is this is my truth. You know it firstly. Teachers try to teach you, but no one ever taught you to trust yourself. They all heard it. Your first guess. That was the first deployment of that. They diminished it to guess, as if there's a potential of wrong. So your first guess is always right. It's not your first guess. It's your intuition, but they labeled it because trust, the self, the imagination, the intuit self. has been scattered among the rocks of time, saying it's been depleted because it's a god. But the god's forgotten. The only thing it knows is the objects outside of it, whether they are God or materialism. Either way that you covet, it's a god to you, that of what you are not. Always to pursue, to fill it inside you, to become. Represented in so many different ways. The pursuit, no matter what. You got to get it, to fill it, to feel it, to scratch that edge. But if you let go, and you become the filling pain of emptiness, of lack, of no purpose, and you feel that, you must be alive. You must be feeling. You must be having an experience. You must be in the now. If you feel that, but you can't do this. We can say it 1,000 times. You can't do it until you know it by choosing it. You can't know what you are. You have to live what you are. And that's not hesitating and not pulling out of your ass a canned response to a situation that's been 1,000 times. Find the authentic. Don't be afraid of you any longer. The permissions of the class were the co-creations. Roxy's permissions were being herself. She created you guys to give her comfort and support that she needed in the moment. And she offered you the same. However she offered it, it doesn't matter in the details. It was the connection. It's the language of the now. That's what it is. Roxy feels a truth about her now. A scarier part of herself. She's got a mind right now trying to place it and label it. She feels something about the classes, the channeling in and of itself. And the only way the mind knows change is over. Because that's all there is. There can't be more of it. It can't be different because the mind can't fathom. So the mind offers what it is understood as experience as potential of this feeling she gets about channeling. And she reaches into the grasp of her mind. But she knows no reaching any longer. Just allow. She understands meek now. She understands being a solid rock for those that are lost. You guys saw what Forrest did. Created followers just because he wanted to run. Never asked. But it was the vibration of connection. He looked at something himself to be that, to find it within inside of him, and he ran. And others saw that authentic, that truth, and says, what is that? I need to know. But light workers don't create followers. Light workers create leaders within. So you don't tell them how to do it. You let them choose their authentic. Let them fall down in discovery of mistakes, as we call them on Earth, but evolutions, as we call them on whole. Revelations to the self saying that was a truth no longer. The now offers a new truth to my expansion, and I shall grasp that truth because it is deservingly mine because I am. That's what light workers offer. Permission to explore themselves. The laughter with no reason. The connection in the absolute comical world you live in. And noticing how silly it is to be serious. And having belly laughs that make you cry and pee. Because they're not at the expense of others. They're the realization of the self, freedom. to cry for reasons of joy, to be human about that, to dig into it and admit to yourself you love crying about joy, not being afraid to cry at a movie, not being afraid to express humanity so it becomes sweating out of your pores and you can lick the salt of your truth. By the way, if some of you have been noticing you have an appetite for salt, that's a frequency shift. You got to bleed your truth, guys. You got to bleed the edges into no division. The blood of the Lamb to cover you was not that. The blood of the Lamb was the authentic bleeding into you. So you may be the same conscience, the same self that says, I am my own light. I am that of what I am. I was created in God's image. So I am the exact replica of God. And God is the exact replica of me. Can you take this home with you as we've done before? You're living a class over right now, but the class is different today. Because today you're different, so the class is different, but it still has pangs of familiarity. It still has ringings of deja vus because they've already been played in the now and you know yourself already. But you're loving yourself in time to know yourself through an experience of now. And the now reveals the self that you've always been. You've always been that. When you arrive in the now, you realize you've always been that. No matter how far back you look in time, you've always been that of the now. That self you're going to remember. So there are no tasks for you to accomplish any longer unless you choose them. There's nothing better to become anymore, Svetlana. You're enough. Jennifer, you've changed somebody that was blind to his own appetites. Your father's never been enough. He's settled into a point of using his attributes, his accomplishments to give him worth. And after he looked around, he realized he was pretty worthy of his accomplishments. You see him bragging and boasting in some situations, but it's not a brag or a bad boast. It's how he defines himself as accomplished. And you let him see that he doesn't need that to be beautiful. I can't even talk about Evelyn, what she's done. And go on forever, what's Evelyn done. Remember the ones that met Evelyn in person? I bet you remember how the smile melted you. Evelyn's smile takes away tears. These aren't human things. They're authentic. They're vibration, they're creation. Pass through all the filters of humanity, pierces deep within the idea of all defensive systems, connects with the lack self of forgotten. And Evelyn just smiles, speaks her beautiful truth with a divine nonchalance that's princess worthy, royalty. Astigmatism that's not bought with Rolls Royces and histories. A stature, if you will. This is not bragging. I'm not pointing her out to give her kudos, for fuck's sakes. I'm showing her what she's done for me, how she's made me more of God. because she's brought authentic into a frequency of awareness that I am a part of, to know myself through my brethren, and accepting the awesomeness that I have accepted unto myself as me. And the meek shall inherit the earth, and no one will know. These things are for you to play with. They are not purposed with time and outcome. Do not diminish them with your colorings of lack. Become the gestalt of indifference. Allow creation to sing to you other than wrong or right, black and blue, up and down. Let it tell you the gray areas leading to colors, the mergings, blendings, the bleedings of the now into forever. These things are your mastery. We'll see you Monday. A different portion of the whole will be here, but most certainly I'll be here. I wouldn't miss this show for the world. From the Speaker Collective of Vibration, we bid you a good day. Stand by, you have another speaker coming in. The attributes of humanity are common to measurement of polarity. The commonality of the spoken words in tonight's class will give many frequencies of that familiarity that's encouched in the wrongs and rights and the lefts and the rights. And it is easily habited to know these things as truths. And those truths, much like many truths, are individualized and noticed by the conscience as potential change. Then you know that these truths that are resounding as the valid inside of you to create image are potential change as well. So you can define yourself as an image and continuation. You are very, very good at it. There are others on the planet that are better at it than you because they are seeking the mastery of imagery. But if you're not going to be polarized, then you would know something that you've already mastered polarity. That's the only reason, because vibration is law, that you woke up. Because you were done with polarity. So you guys find authentic, you co-create realities, you create and birth Roxanne in your reality. To have something that speaks something other than the status quo, that has the familiarity of a lulling pain and emptiness inside, a scratch that can never be itched, an itch that can never be scratched. Thank you, Roxanne. It has something other than it sings a different color. It makes your mind wash away all the distractions with no effort. And you have a glimpse of this stillness connection of, I feel it. So you can spend your weekend debating this, or you can spend your weekend allowing this. And that allowance will bring all colors back to the eyesight of a forgotten God. All tastes that you have been longing for. You have awoken. Don't stop now. There are things that you will experience that have been aforementioned. You must remember that the Christ conscience was shunned, spat, crucified. His followers, the Bible cleaned up for you, were also crucified, convicted, made, put on public display, drawn and quartered. Throughout the lands, not just the disciples in what you guys call your last picture. The many years that they traveled, all were found guilty because they shined a light that was too bright, is what they claim. Have you ever heard that term, before its time? Nikola Tesla was before his time. No, he wasn't. He was right on time. The Christ conscience was right on time. And now you're right on time. You're going to be a light that will extract pain from people. It will expose them to their own prison. And many will be embarrassed and want to fight you. Not in physicality, in abuse, emotional abuse, attack, things that you would think that would be harmful to you. But now you know something. See, in order to have an attack, you must have an offense. Someone attacks and you are offended. And the only way you can be offended is the value of the attack is a truth to you. Otherwise, it passes through you as unconditional. But if it hits you as something, as many, let's say Roxanne's firings upon her, people throwing the daggers of hate at her, she took them personally and they hurt. But she accepted the hurt and explored the hurt to know that the hurt wasn't hurt. To understand those portions of reality that she was coveting as a truth. To know thyself. So you can't be emotionally abused if that idea that's coming at you is not your truth. You can't recognize it as offensive. Someone called you a name, or they lay burdens of guilt and obligation on you. They yell and scream and threaten to no end. And all you hear is, I love you. These things you will experience if you choose your light. You have no idea, but I will tell you, you are so far from the earth that you were. You are on such a different earth, it's incredible. The images that you create are your memories. The now earth is completely different. Get to know the earth you're on now. When you react in memory, you instantaneously create the version of that person as a valid. When you allow that person to show something different to you, and you accept it as a covet, then that person will never be the same version in your life ever again, and you will be upon another new earth. Because that version can't be on the old. Can't be on the old earth. Thank you, Roxanne. Has to be on this new planet that you creating, a new earth for you and your vibrational matches to create together. Donald Trump, I'm sorry to say, is a memory. He is not now. The wars, the dramas, the shootings, those are all memories, my friends. When you validate focus in the past, you get the experience because you are God. You feel that self being an experience, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's your truth. But you now know that truth of the now lies a new world, a new way to relate to reality, something that you've never seen before. But you're so goddamn impatient and always trying to create what you think is best for you through lack. The lack is going to provide you with a picturesque perfect of never getting that. But the endless appetite that can never be satisfied through lack. You'll never quench your motherfucking thirst in lack. So it would behoove you to be that light so you can free yourselves, so you suffer, so others may not. They come to you, your earth, in potential. Paul in the class was not on this earth until he booked a session with Roxanne. The other earths are fine, perfect. It doesn't matter where they are on the scale, or you being time right now wondering where they're at. If a person shows up in your life, did you change your frequency to meet theirs? Is that why they're being an asshole? Or are you being the light worker that potentials them in that moment to join you on your vibrational earth? I'm wondering if you can master your authentic a few times this weekend. To not be afraid to spend your last dime if the now calls for it. To not be afraid of breaking up and leaving someone that no longer is your vibrational truth. To do something that you promised yourself that you would do before you die and never hesitate on that again. To go out and be the explorer of your femininity or masculinity. To explore your expression of sexuality. To explore the degrees of what it is to be human, to know thyself within. For those of you that have been with Roxanne for a while, you know her as rage. She hates so much the wrongdoing of others. That's her rage built in. But she understands now that it was the wrongdoing of herself. And she put that rescue upon others because she could not rescue herself because her worthiness was smashed so low she could not recognize herself until she found Roxanne. Find you for the love of you, for the love of God, right? This weekend, just a few times. Don't be afraid to meet you. And if you blind another, they have not been blinded. They have been potentialed. That's all. This is all we have for this Thursday night special. We bid you all a good evening. We will see you Monday.
Thank you.